It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. The depth charts are out. It's time to play some trivia. We take a look at the Los Angeles Rams, and tomorrow, people, opens the Big Sky Missouri Valley Challenge. It is Tutel Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio and across the state on SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Thanks for spending some of it with us on your radios, on your televisions, on your devices, etc. We are happy to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can find us on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. There you can listen live on the Listen Live tab. That's also known as a stream, and it's there thanks to Opportunity Bank. Your local bank, your opportunity. If you want to call, 329-1899 is the phone number. You can do it like that, 329-1899. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. Plenty to get to today. The depth charts came out today. The two-deep depth chart for the Montana-South Dakota game came out. Did the Montana State's as well for the Texas Tech game on Saturday. So we will go through those, look at some, whether they're surprises, whether, it's kind of who won out. And we will also hear from Bobby Hauck about some of this stuff tomorrow as just rolled in from practice today and talk to him about a couple of those things. So we'll get into some of that. It is a Wing It Wednesday. We'll send you over to the Desperado Sports Tavern for the best wings in the city of Missoula. So get yourselves ready, get your mind's limber drink. What do they? Where's the brain juice, Ben? Man, you were all into those Nero juices for the longest, and I haven't seen one of those in a hot minute.
Yeah, it's because when I make a commitment, I stick with it. It's actually not true. I gave up afternoon caffeine. But then I've been slugging yerba mate still on the days when I was drinking. I got Tommy caffeine. I got Tommy into it, and he lasted 2 days. And I actually had probably I would say I lasted 11 weeks. And now I don't do it every day. I just do it sometimes. So
11 weeks off of afternoon caffeine?
Yes.
See, here's the thing for me about caffeine is I don't even view caffeine as a health negative.
Well, that's because that's what corporate America wants you to think.
No.
Caffeine is like the second most abused drug in America besides alcohol. I'm just telling you, it's just the truth.
Here's the thing. Nicotine, bad for you. Alcohol, bad for you. Various drugs, bad for you. Caffeine, good for you.
In moderation.
Definitely. And you can have
we
it
all drink way
in the afternoon.
But then it causes hypothyroidism. It causes your adrenal glands to not produce at a highly functioning level. It affects your sleep. It dehydrates you.
We're all on our way out, man. Enjoy the ride.
Oh, I know. The Amazon rainforest is burning to the ground. The Yellowstone volcano is about to explode. And college football is about to open on Saturday. That's why we do what we do, so we don't have to think about the world ending.
Oh, man. Okay.
Have you seen the pictures of I don't want to go all crazy political,
no.
But have you seen the pictures of the Amazon rainforest?
Yeah.
It hurts your brain, man. Yeah. I mean, I get that there's been fires all the time, and there's a lot of different media tactics going on that are over-exaggerating maybe what's going on, but it doesn't matter, man. At the end of the day, a forest fire is a forest fire. It's a concerning thing, and when it's the forest that provides the oxygen for the world, that is also a concerning thing. I don't care if it's been happening forever. It's an issue. The pictures are crazy. Back to sports.
Too deep. Open today.
I just wanted you to catch your breath because you've been sprinting in here.
Oh, man. I was...
Ryan did a journalism thing today while I was doing a sales thing. It's usually the other way around.
I don't know why. The journalism thing is tough, I will tell you. And so, yeah, we went over there, had a little chat with Coach Hauck today. And, those things begin when the coaches decide that they begin, and that's fine. This is not like it's not as if we were told to be there at 1:00 and then it wasn't. But it's these things during the week of practice, they start right up against this very show, and so it's a little bit of a race. I did make it. You brought me water. You're a kind friend, and I appreciate you. Coulter, the 2-deep depth chart came out today for the Cats and the Grizz for Week 1, going up into these games on Saturday. And I want to hear from you on your thoughts on this. You monitor, fall camp and then, into practice very, very closely. You're aware of the battles that are going on. Some of it is guys who won out. You think like Malik Robertson, for example, is the starting ace.
Gavin Robertson, excuse me.
Gavin Robertson.
I mistakenly texted you Malik Robertson. Who is Malik Robertson? That's a reputable name. Who is that? There's a Malik Robertson in our world somewhere that we've covered. Regardless, Gavin Robertson. I put that in your head though because I texted you that.
That's okay. Many things are in my head that I would like to just straighten out, and I don't know if I will ever be able to. Gavin Robertson is the starter at safety for one of the starters at safety. So I think that's interesting in terms of him winning out that position when there was a number of guys that it could have been. And then, you think about maybe Jesse Sims, for instance, who is the starting nose guard, is listed as a nose guard, not listed as either an exterior guy or even like on a 4-3 front in a 3 or 5 tech. Listening to Bobby Hauck today, asking him about that very thing, saying, yes, that's where he's listed, but everybody can play everywhere, essentially. I mean, not everybody can play everywhere, but we're going to move guys around, and that's the nature of what we're going to do defensively, so don't get too caught up in where they're listed. But nonetheless, it is interesting to see him definitely on the as interior can get at the 0 tech on the nose.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that one of the most intriguing parts about fall camp is just the internal position battles, but I also think that those position battles have gotten somewhat less intriguing because winning a quote-unquote starting job, it means who's on the field first, but oftentimes if you are the starter at the position in what is your base defense, there could be matchups throughout the year where you don't even start. Like there's guys that are starters that don't start in certain matchups. For example, like Montana State, they played Incarnate Word the first round of the playoffs last year. Incarnate Word runs the air raid. Their coach comes from the Mike Leach system. So instead of starting a Sam linebacker, none of their Sam linebackers started in that game. Ty Okada started at nickel. So sometimes you're not even on the field. So it's package-based, but also it's more than just a position battle for a quote-unquote starting spot. It's jockeying for a spot on the 2-deep because, especially on defense, if you're on the 2-deep, you're likely going to play. It's just like Coach Hauck said. Jesse Sims might be lined up over the center for the first 3 plays on Saturday. He might go out and play strong end on the next series. He might play weak end in the other series. What is strong and what is weak also completely delineates because of how fast college football offenses go. The fact that almost everybody runs pre-snap motion on almost every play. I mean, you're talking about even 15 years ago, tight right, the tight end's right here. Okay, strong side of the formation's right there. The wide side of the field, there it is. That's it. Now everybody runs motions. The strong side and the weak side flip. There's the common lexicons talk about the strong safety and the free safety. And conventional wisdom would say the strong safety is the guy that can maybe move down in the box, more of a run supporter. The free safety is the guy that's playing center field. Like if you look at Montana, like in Montana's defense, they play so much one high that Robbie Hauck's not playing either. He's playing both. He's playing safety. He runs the alley. His run fits are, you know what I'm saying? Like so much of this is based on what the offense is doing. A lot like the Seahawks in their prime of the Legion of Boom, right? They played right corner and left corner. Richard Sherman got criticized for it because the elite corners, they play either field or boundary. They play the wide side of the field. But the Seahawks just played one side so that you wouldn't have to be running all over the place. It gets confusing when you're playing field and boundary if the team's moving back and forth horizontally along the field and all of a sudden you're playing the field, so you're running to the wide side of the field, back and forth if you're the corner. It shoots a lot. Also, presumably, you are not guarding the best wide receiver every time, or the offense can dictate who guards who, essentially, if you just go half and half. No doubt. And that's why we had Travis Johansson on the show yesterday. And by the way, our podcast got cut off yesterday. Apologies to anybody who wanted to listen to that interview. If you do want to listen to it, it is archived in one spot. It's archived on our YouTube channel, so you can go to YouTube, just type in Two Tell Nuanez. Travis Johansson, the defensive coordinator from South Dakota, joined us yesterday around 5:30, so about an hour and a half into that YouTube. The interview is there, so you can go check that out.
And we may be able to excise that out of there, too, and get that up for people.
Regardless, he talked all about position versatility. I think that because offenses now go so fast, and because, like you're saying, the offense can dictate who's guarding who, that's why guys like Cooper Kupp, they can move around and play on the outside or the inside at a receiver, are such nightmare matchups, because if you put him in motion, you angle him the right way, all of a sudden he might have a linebacker covering him, and it's a 10 out of 10 win. He's going to win every time. And so just being able to find guys that can be versatile, that can play in the box, play outside the box, all that. So then that comes full circle then to talking about the position battles at the University of Montana, and I think that there was a lot of, when you look at this too deep, a lot of guys that rose to the top or a lot of position battles that actually ended up settling without much intrigue. But I also think it's worth noting that even when we're talking about this guy, quote unquote, winning this position battle, very few of these are definitive wins, because so many of these guys are going to, the guys that are backups are going to play a ton.
That's right.
But when I go through this thing, I'll just touch on the ones that I thought were pretty heated battles and the way that they played out. So ex-receiver, Mitch Roberts was getting a lot of 1 reps during spring ball and during fall camp. Samari Torrey listed as the one at X. But Mitch Roberts is going to get a ton of snaps. At F receiver, at the slot receiver, Jerry Lou McGee, Gabe Sulser. You wondered if Sulser would overtake him. Jerry Lou McGee, the senior, is the number one guy there. But again, those guys are going to probably straight up split reps at that spot. I mean, why would you not want those guys on the field as often as you possibly can? The running back battle was one we talked about prevalently. The only 2 guys listed on the tailbacks are Adam Eastwood and Marcus Knight. No Drew Turner, no Garrett Graves, no Nick Ostmo. But again, those guys still might be in the mix. We'll see. The one spot where you're probably not going to rotate as much is along the offensive line. And I thought the one intriguing offensive line battle was for the guard spots. I think that they basically pitted Angel Villanueva versus the 2 junior college guys, and they tried to find their best 2 out of those 3. Villanueva, who's down to 301, he lost 40 pounds during the offseason. He wins the spot at left guard over Moses Mallory, who was a guy that came in here, highly touted 3-star recruit, a guy that had FBS offers. So that's a good win for Villanueva. I think that when you have a guy who you bring in a transfer to beat out and your incumbent beats him out, that's a great scenario for your team, because that means the veteran guy who's been a part of the fabric of your locker room understands the sense of urgency, and honestly, it kicks his butt into gear. And I think that that's exactly what happened with Villanueva. And a new and improved Angel Villanueva will be good for the Grizz. He was out of shape and hurt all last year, and he was the most experienced, the only experienced guy really coming back on the offensive line. So got to wish him the best for his senior year, because he's a guy that's got a tremendous story. He went through a ton of hardship growing up. And so for him to win a job as a 5th-year senior, that's cool. That's a great story. Then defensively, Dante Olson, Jace Lewis, not much of a position battle there. You knew Jesse Sims was going to be along the defensive line at some spot. He's the starting guy at nose. But then at the end spots, Braden Deming and Alex Gubner are the 2 number ones. The guy who fought his way onto the depth chart despite a position change, which I thought was pretty good, is Vika Fatuese. Vika was inside linebacker when Bob Stitt was the head coach. Then he was a fullback last year, and he didn't get used at all. Now he's playing D-end. Talk about a guy that's moved all over the place and done whatever they've asked him to do. But now he's up to 245 pounds, and he's the number 2 at end behind Gubner. If he can really produce there, that could be a good spot for him. They call it the REB position, the R-E-B position. That's their sort of hybrid stand-up outside linebacker defensive end. Mm-hmm. Ryder Rice, the transfer from Rocky Mountain, listed as the number 1 guy there. And that's going to be a tremendous story. Even if he doesn't become a full-out 11-game starter, if he contributes and produces at that spot, that's a great story. A kid that comes from 6-man football and doesn't have any offer from anybody and goes to Rocky on a minimal scholarship and earns his way all the way up to being an All-American, and then graduates early and bets on himself and says, I want to play at the highest level. Let me have a chance at the highest level. Positions himself to play for the Grizz, and then he wins a starting job. That's a great story, man. It's an awesome story for a 6-man kid from Savage, Montana to get to that spot. So I thought that was an intriguing win. The corners locked in. Justin Calhoun, Darion Nash are the 2 guys. Corbin Walker is a number 2 corner, though, as a true freshman, That was a good quote-unquote win. Keenan Foster, the UTEP transfer who played receiver the last couple of years, he's Nash's backup, so that's good. Robbie Houck, you knew he was going to be the dude there at one of the safety spots. Gavin Robertson, though, ahead of Michael McGinnis at one of the safety spots. And I thought Nash Vouch would be in the mix. He's not on this two, or he is on the 2 deep. He's backing up Josh Sandry at the other safety spot, which is kind of a rover spot. So I think that those 6 safeties, Robbie Houck, Gavin Crow, Gavin Robertson, Michael McGinnis, Josh Sandry, Nash Vouch, I think all those guys are going to play, since in this defense there's 3 safeties that start. And I think all 6 of those guys can play. So we'll see. But I think that there is some reflection of the offseason program within this. And I thought one of the most interesting sound bites we had from this fall camp was when we were talking about Bobby Houck and physical conditioning, positional versatility, and the concept of mass. I think it's been drilled into our lexicon and our psyche as football fans that bigger is better always. And I don't think that's necessarily true. And you look at a guy like Angel Villanueva, who lost 40 pounds, and it benefited him. He's better for being lighter. You look at a guy like Gavin Robertson. Gavin Robertson was 230 pounds. He did not look like a safety last year. He looked like an outside linebacker. And I thought he was 2 steps slow because of it. Well, now he's down to 208, and now he's number 1 on the depth chart. You have to think that those two things go hand in hand. So I think that across the board, there was some surprises, but also I think that almost every single one of those positions, especially when you're talking about receiver, running back, and everybody on defense, they all have a chance to just rotate. So I think that, it's just getting your name onto this 2 deep is the win. It's not necessarily the guy who won the starting spot, because I think that seriously almost every single guy, especially on the defensive 2 deep, is going to play a lot.
A couple things on this to me, Coulter. One is Dante Olson did win the starting spot.
Shocked.
One of the linebackers there. So
really pushed hard.
He will be on there. We'll see how many reps he actually gets. And the other thing is, you mentioned the 3 safeties that Montana goes with. They actually don't. They go with 2 safeties and the Grizz.
I like it.
The Grizz position is the position that Robbie Houck, of all people, is the starter at. Very interesting.
This is a total tangent. But
there's only 3 linemen and 2 linebackers, and then the Reb and the Grizz.
This is a total tangent, but I got to just ask you your thoughts on this.
Okay.
I think that there is there's some good candidates to replace Jesse Sims as number 37 next year. I think Braden Deming, his name will be in the conversation. I think Jace Lewis's name will be in the conversation. Maybe even Michael McGinnis, but I think that the overwhelming favorite to be the next 37 is Robbie Houck. What do you think of that?
I mean, I guess I don't know. What do you mean? What do I think about it?
I just think that haters will scream nepotism because he's Bobby's son. But then if you look at him, he personifies 37. I mean, he is the hard-hitting Montana guy.
This is a player-to-player award.
Totally, right.
The coaches have nothing to do with it. And and Bobby Houck was here while this was being passed on, and he knows what this is.
Oh, of course. I mean, the greatest 37 of all time is Tim Houck.
Right. And so, and my point is that, well, of course, I'm not saying I'm not saying who it should or shouldn't go to, for crying out loud. Jesse Sims is the number 37. He's got a whole year with it, and then, he can make whatever determination he thinks is best to make at the end of the season, or, headed into next year, whatever. But no, listen. The only way that you can scream nepotism on anything is when somebody's child is doing a job and they're bad at it.
Right.
Like if a person has a kid and it takes over the company and runs the company into the ground, that's nepotism. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It could be nepotism even if it's a good thing. But the point is like, you can only sit here and chastise it if it's going bad. If somebody takes over a company and expands that thing and builds it, I've seen children take over companies from their fathers and turn them over 100-fold into, bigger and better and more successful than what they were before. And nobody yells nepotism then. They say, hey, look at it, great skill set that was built upon or whatever. Robbie Houck, Montana would be a far worse football team without Robbie Houck out there running around at the Grizz spot wrecking people, period. So no, I mean, I don't anybody who's would think that they're upset about him getting the number at some point, whether it was next year or the following, is crazy to me.
So tell me this. Robbie Houck lists his hometown as Montana.
He lives in the town of Montana?
He lists his hometown as Missoula.
Gotcha.
I'm not exactly sure if he was actually born in Missoula. The timeline, he's a year older than his grade because I remember I looked up his age for a story I wrote about him last year.
Okay.
So he might have not actually been born in Montana.
Okay.
Might have been born in Seattle or Bobby was coaching at Colorado, so maybe in Colorado. I have no justification here for this, but he did live from age 2 through age 11 or 12, certainly in Missoula. Mm-hmm. He lists his hometown as Missoula, but then he went to all his high school in Vegas and California.
Sure.
The one rule for 37 as a native Montanan, is there any controversy there?
I mean, I don't know.
Do you have to go to high school in Montana? I don't know. It's just an interesting stipulation. I don't know. I don't know if you. I don't know. The other thing is that everybody thinks it's for a defensive player, but that's actually not part of the actual rule. It's just been a defensive player since Tim Houck took it over. But the original 37, Craig Paulson, was actually an offensive player.
I just think that you're trying to start fires here, Coulter. That's what it seems like.
No, I'm not. I just really was thinking about, because I think that Robbie Houck should be 37. Robbie Houck wore 37 at Northern Arizona his redshirt freshman year because he loves Montana so much.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to start any fires. I just thought it's going to be an interesting debate to have because, I mean, obviously he's from the Houck family, so his roots in Montana are deep, 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 generations. But he would just be the first one that had sort of outside the box characteristics.
Yeah.
Regardless, let's talk about the Cats. Cat depth chart.
Okay, let's go to the Cat depth chart. Casey Bauman is starting at quarterback.
We knew that one.
Yeah, but it's the only one that we actually didn't really know. Everybody else, where have they listed Troy Anderson, Coulter?
Troy Anderson is listed as the 4th running back and the starting Sam.
Mm-hmm.
You're right though. There was almost no position battles on Montana State's offense. The guys that rose up, the one battle was at left guard. Taylor Tuiasosopo missed the last month of the year last year with an injury. Him and Jake Sessions battled throughout spring ball and fall camp, but Tuiasosopo rose up and won that job. The other one was at receiver. Everybody knew Kevin Cassis and Travis Johnson were going to start, but then it was a matter of who's your best third out of Willie Patterson, Lance McCutcheon, and Coy Steele was kind of in the mix. Willie Patterson will be the inside guy, and Lance McCutcheon will back up Travis Johnson, so I expect McCutcheon to get a lot of time at X as well. And then tight end was kind of an interesting battle because Montana State did have 3 senior tight ends a year ago. Ryan Davis from Billings Skyview ends up winning the starting job at tight end over Jacob Hadley, so that was an interesting one because you switch Hadley to offense for his senior year, and Davis is the one that emerges as the go-to guy there. On defense, I think everybody knew that Amandre Williams, Bryce Stirk, Derek Marks were going to start. The other battle was between Washington transfer Jason Skrimpos and Chase Benson out of Helena High. And I think those guys are going to rotate heavily. That's one of those ones where it doesn't really matter who's the first guy out, but Skrimpos did end up getting that as a grad transfer from Washington. At linebacker, though, the inside linebacker spot was probably the fiercest battle at Montana State's fall camp. Chad Cano and Josh Hill both return as starters, but Josh Hill missed all of last season with a back injury. Chad Cano missed the second half of last season with a knee injury that then turned into a shoulder injury during the spring as well. So the two guys that were kind of the incumbents, they weren't healthy, and they didn't have a lot of chance to participate in camp. In the meantime, Michael Jobin started every game last year at will linebacker. And then you also have Nolan Askelson, who was one of the rising stars on Montana State's defense, and Callahan O'Reilly, a converted quarterback out of Bozeman High, who by all accounts is the strongest, one of the pound-for-pound strongest players on the team. And so you have Askelson and O'Reilly new to the mix, Josh Hill and Chad Cano trying to get healthy. Michael Jobin as a guy who actually played the most football out of that 5 last year. And then he also brought in Blake Flovin, a junior college transfer. So the way that it played out is Josh Hill will be the number 1 at will with Michael Jobin backing him up. And Nolan Askelson, the former Montana defensive AA player, Class AA player of the year out of Billings Senior, he will start ahead of Callahan O'Reilly at Mike. And then at Sam, obviously it's Troy Anderson. And then the other spots that were kind of up for grabs just because Munchie Filer is hurt. Munchie Filer's going to miss the Texas Tech game. He's probably going to miss a couple non-conference games at least with what looks like an arm injury. I haven't been able to confirm it, but he was wearing a cast and a sling during Montana State's scrimmage. Probably nothing too serious, but definitely going to cost him this opener at least. But the corner spots were then kind of more open because Jalen Cole's on the shelf indefinitely after that neck injury he suffered against the Cats against the Grizz last year, excuse me. Tyrell Thomas is still working his way back from an injury from last year. Munchie Filer's out. And then you have Tyree and Tyree Gibson, a pair of twins from Southern California who are now in the mix. So the way that played out, Damian Washington, the senior, he'll be the starter ahead of Tyrell Thomas on one corner spot, and then Tyree Gibson, a redshirt freshman, will be the starter ahead of LaBelle Price at the other spot. So a little bit more, I guess I'd say about an equal amount of competition on the Bobcat depth chart defensively as there was on the Grizz depth chart. But I also think that the Grizz didn't roll that much last year in terms of they rolled at the safety spot. They Reed Miller played, Robbie Houck played, Josh Sandry played a bunch, Gavin Robertson played a fair amount. They rotated quite a bit at the safety spot. They didn't rotate much at corner. They didn't rotate much at D-line because they didn't have very many bodies. And they rotated at the inside linebacker spot with Jace Lewis and Josh Buss to try to preserve Josh Buss, but Dante Olson really just never came out of the game. I expect Montana to roll a little bit more this year because they do have a few more guys. The thing about the Cats is they've been rolling their D-line, their inside linebackers, and their corners since day one. I mean, even when they didn't have a ton of depth or a ton of talent, Jeff Choate's first year, they were playing their backup defensive line front 30, 35 snaps a game. So that's not uncommon at Montana State. I think that they'll continue to do that as well.
I do think Munchie Filer being out is significant for this team. They are really good at safety. They are not as good or as deep at corner. And going up against this Texas Tech team, you got to have all hands on deck in the secondary. Just got to. And that's a significant hand to not have on deck for this Bobcat team. Now, look, I mean, not sitting here going, well, this is the reason why a game's going to go a particular way or whatever. But when you're talking about wanting to be competitive, wanting to be able to stick with it, and that's a tough loss. And certainly, I maybe I'm crazy on this. Okay, I'm crazy on this stuff. But I always feel like if a kid's playing, FCS football, or even at the bottom of the deck mid-major FBS programs, which are not drawing, many fans out and are, just kind of playing Tuesday night football or whatever. The opportunity to go to a big-time environment against a Power 5 school. I mean, Texas Tech was just in the college basketball national championship game, for crying out loud.
Totally.
And we know, of late, they have been a major player. I mean, they're always going to be second and third fiddle to Texas A&M, okay? But, I mean, you're talking about, Michael Crabtree, a guy who's now the head coach at Arizona Cardinals in the NFL, who was most recently there. I mean, there's a big-time tradition there nonetheless. And to go play in a game and in an environment like that is one that is exciting when it's not something that happens every single day or even every single year. And so to not be able to play in that game has got to be disappointing, it would seem to me. Maybe kids, you're always talking about kids nowadays, maybe they don't want to be associated with, a significant loss or something like that. To me, it's like, go out there and play ball at, in Lubbock, Texas. How great would that be? I mean, that'd be fun. Anyway, there you go. The depth charts are out, and we'll talk more about these teams and these games coming up because, well, we got 2.5 days to do it, basically, before we're kicking this thing off, which is great. But now it is time for a Wing It Wednesday. 329-1899. Give us a call, 329-1899. Coulter has 3 questions for you, and if you get just 2 of them, we'll even give you some leeway. You got yourself a basket of wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern, the best wings in the city of Missoula. Let's do some trivia, people. 329-1899 right after this.
Alpine Touch has been providing you with the distinct seasonings you know and love for decades. Now, Alpine Touch has something to help you unleash the freshness of all the delicious flavors you need to spice up any meal. Check out Alpine Touch's new coarse grinds, unleashing the fresh taste of the garlic pepper or all-purpose seasonings to please any nose or taste bud. Coarse grinds can be purchased by the pound at retail locations around the state or at alpinetouch.com. Use the code ESPN10 at checkout to get 10% off any online order. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
Les Schwab is proud to introduce two of our best tires ever, just in time for summer. There's our exclusive Reputation, a high-mileage premium passenger tire we believe has the quietest, most comfortable ride ever. Or our exceptionally quiet and smooth all-season traction tire, the Open Range AT. Get up to $150 instant rebate on 4 backcountry MT or AT tires or $50 on 4 road control passenger tires. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Mark your calendar for the 4th annual Selway Armory tent sale. The lowest prices of the year on guns, ammunition, and accessories, and massive amounts of ammo to stock up for the entire year. September 13th and 14th in the Lolo Shopping Center parking lot on Highway 93. Tons of ammo, guns, and other items at below-cost blowout prices. September 13th and 14th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday and 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday. The 4th annual Selway Armory tent sale at the Lolo Shopping Center, Highway 93. Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh from the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, if our listeners have been injured in an accident, how can you help?
We're here to help you after a car accident by negotiating with insurance companies, recovering lost wages if you have any, and even getting you into a rental car if you need one. Call us today for a free consultation, and we'll get started helping you right away.
If you need help, get a hold of the Advocates. Call Josh at 640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve an advocate.
Welcome to today's lottery drawing. And today's winning numbers are not yours, not yours, and another number that's not yours. And the final number is not yours.
When it comes to having money, don't rely on luck. Brew your own coffee at home instead of buying that latte. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering it. Go to feedthepig.org for more free ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, ESPN Sports Center. Back at their home field for the first time since August 3rd, the Missoula Osprey fell short against the first-place Billings Mustangs in a 3-1 loss Tuesday night. The win is Billings' 5th straight and gives the Mustangs a 6-game lead in the Pioneer League North second-half race with 10 games left to play. The visitors scored runs in the 7th and 9th, moved to 21-7 in the second half. The two teams play the second game for a 3-game set at Oakland Park Allegiance Field tonight. First pitch is at 7:05. Can be heard here on ESPN Radio and seen on SWX Montana Television.
Missoula Sentinel Jr. Jaden Dennis followed up his opening round 70 at Larchmont with a final round 72 at Canyon River to claim the Missoula County Public Schools golf invite on Tuesday. Dennis's effort paced Sentinel to a 3-shot win in the team competition. Kalispell Flathead Jr. Marcella Mercer earned girls medalist honors by following up her opening round of 80 with a round of 77. Macy Greenwood of Corvallis turned in the best round at Canyon River of 76 to lead the Corvallis girls to the team title.
Big Sky Conference football begins their season tomorrow. There's 2 games from the Big Sky Conference. Northern Arizona is hosting Missouri State in the first game of the Missouri Big Sky Conference Challenge. That game kicks off at 7 Mountain. Northern Colorado is also at FBS San Jose State. That game is at 8. The rest of the league begins their season Saturday.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
give some wings away, shall we? It is Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. Find us on Twitter at Gus Tutel. That's me. Hi. At 102.9 ESPN and at Skyline Sports MT. It is time for a Wing It Wednesday, and so, as is our custom here, we go to the phones and we welcome in Dave to the show. Dave, how are you? Dave, do we have you?
Yes, can you hear me?
There we go. Dave, we got you. We got you in the headsets. We got you on the radio. You are ready to go, my man. Now, Dave, let me ask you this. What level of familiarity do you have with Desperado wings?
Level of familiarity, I'd say Desperado wings. 1 to 100, I'm going to say 100. Familiarity with this game that we're about to do, I'm going to say a 0.
Okay, well, let me fill you in on the details, okay, so that you're not at a 0. You are going to answer some trivia questions, okay? In fact, 3 trivia questions in total. If you get 2 of them right, 2 out of 3, you got yourself a basket of wings, and you know exactly what you like, as you've stated over there at the Desperado Sports Tavern. If you get all 3, we're going to give you a shirt as well, and if you need help on any one of these, I am a lifeline for you, so you can use a lifeline on one of these questions. Does that sound all right to you?
Fantastic.
Here we go.
Boy, some chicken wings would really hit the spot. Tell me likey. Tell me what wingy.
All right, Dave, here we go. Question number 1. Coulter's got the questions here in the first round today. So, Coulter, let her rip, my man. What are we doing here?
All right, Dave, this is about MVPs in the NFL.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
About multiple-time winners of MVPs in the NFL specifically. Okay, so number 1, 6 players have won the NFL Defensive MVP multiple times. Give me 2 guys that have won 2 or more NFL Defensive MVPs.
Oh, boy. 2 or more. How about J.J. Watt?
J.J. Watt has won an NFL record 3 NFL Defensive Player Awards.
Excellent, Dave.
Let's go back and let's say Troy Polamalu. He's got to have won it.
Troy Polamalu only won 1 in 2010, but we will not disqualify you for that guess. We'll give you one more guess.
Give it another guess.
All right. How about okay, Ray Lewis. Got to be Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis has won 2 in his career.
Go.
Very
Ray,
good.
Ray.
Very nicely done. The other multiple time winners: Joe Green in 1972 and 1974, Lawrence Taylor as a rookie in 81, again in 1982, and then for a third time in 1986. Pretty good run there for LT. Mike Singletary in 1985 and 1987. Bruce Smith won 2. Ray Lewis won 2. J.J. Watts won 3. And most recently, Aaron Donald, the back-to-back NFL Defensive Player of the Year.
The Bruce Smith, Dennis Hopper, Bad Things Man commercial is the single greatest commercial featuring a sports player in the history of the universe.
The most amazing part about Bruce Smith's career, other than being the stalwart defensive player on a team that lost 4 straight Super Bowls, is that Bruce Smith is one of the 3 best pass rushers in the history of the NFL, and he was also the 3rd best pass rusher in the NFL for the duration of his career because he played at the exact same time as Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White.
Bruce Smith did, though. I mean, he played like 20 seasons or some obnoxious
he's the only
thing.
guy him and Reggie White are the only 200 sack players.
It's incredible. Okay, very good, Dave. Excellently done there on the first question. Here we go, question number 2.
All right, you're 1 for 1. You still have a lifeline, Dave. So number 2, the exact same question, except for 7 NFL players have won multiple overall MVPs, which is usually AKA offensive MVPs. There's 7 guys that have won multiple offensive MVP awards. Give me 2 of them.
All right. How about Jerry Rice? Come on, give me Jerry Rice.
That is such an interesting guess because I don't actually know if Jerry Rice ever won an MVP, which in itself might be the craziest stat.
They don't give them to wide receivers.
In football.
They really don't.
Wow.
I'm not going to kill you for that one, though. That one doesn't count because I mean, Jerry Rice is the greatest football player of all time statistically.
Let's go to question number 3, and let's come back to question number 2, okay?
Okay. All right. Number 3, there's only been one non-quarterback to ever win multiple MVPs in the NFL. Only one. It happened in 1978 and 1979. Running back for the Houston Oilers. Who is the running back for the Houston Oilers that won back-to-back MVPs? The only non-quarterback to win the NFL MVP twice.
What year was it?
1978 and 1979. The Houston Oilers running back.
Oh God.
You do have a lifeline.
That's got to be Earl Campbell, or is that too late?
Earl Campbell is right.
Yeah, very good, Dave. Well done.
Gosh, if you want to know the way that injuries can impact a guy, because Earl Campbell, for when he was in his prime at the University of Texas and then for the Houston Oilers, I mean, those tapes,
perfect.
He is a frightening man.
Yes, he is. Dave, I got great news for you. You got yourself wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern. Very well done. Give your information there to Reese in the back, and we'll get you set up with those, all right?
Hey, I need another chance number 2.
He wants himself a shirt.
Okay.
All right. For the shirt, you get one guess. Give you 2 guys that have won multiple NFL MVPs.
No problem. I got this. Tom Brady, Drew Brees.
Tom Brady's won 3, and I actually think that Drew Brees has only won 1.
Oh my goodness! Is that
all right? Fair enough.
Dave, still though,
you got the wings.
Got what you came for. You really did.
Fantastic.
You know, very, very well done. All right, give your information to Reese. We'll get you set up, okay? And maybe we'll give him a shirt anyway for fun. Dave was nice.
All right.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, guess. So there's 7 guys that have won 2 MVPs or more in the NFL. Earl Campbell is off the board.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's off the board. Who are the other 5?
Well, Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning's won 5, an NFL record.
I mean, I'm trying to think about if Aaron Rodgers has won more than 1. I think he maybe only 1. Is he at 2?
He's won 2. He was 2011 and 2014.
Okay. Would John Elway be on that list of multiple MVPs?
John Elway only won 1 MVP in 1987.
Well, let me just stay in the vein of my people and say Brett Favre.
Yep, Brett Favre won 3 MVPs between 1995 and 1998 or 1997. So he went 95, 96, and 97. So 3 in a row.
Wow.
He shared the MVP with Barry Sanders in 97.
Okay, so
you got 2 left.
Are they before or after 2000?
One is right at 2000. 99 and 2001 was when this guy won.
Gosh, and it's a quarterback.
We
know that for sure. I mean, who is slinging it? This is gonna. I mean, Troy Aikman?
Nope. Troy Aikman was never good.
Steve Young?
Steve Young is the one of the answers, but he was in 92 and 94.
Oh, okay.
So you got 1 left, 99 and 2001.
I mean, it wasn't like.
This is very innovative. These guys don't get enough credit. This offense had more influence
Mike Vick?
Nope. This offense had more influence on modern football than they get credit for.
Are you gonna talk to me about the Minnesota Vikings
Nope.
right now?
Nope.
Is it the Eagles?
Nope.
I don't know.
It's the greatest show on turf.
Oh, with the Rams?
Yep.
Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Do you remember when that hit the league?
Oh, yeah.
Mike Martz, Kurt Warner.
When Trent Green goes down and you're like, well, an average team just became awful. Oh, no. Super Bowl.
Well, you're right, because they decided to play fast, and
Torrey Holt,
Isaac Bruce, and Marshall Faulk. I'll take it.
Strong. Orlando Pace.
I mean, Marshall Faulk, talk about underrated, man. Marshall Faulk Marshall Faulk had a year there in 2000 when he was the NFL MVP. 1,500 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving. That's untouchable. Mm-hmm. That's untouchable to go 1,000, let alone 1,500, 1,000.
Pretty good. All right, that's how we do it. Boys and girls, we'll have some trivia. We'll do some college football game 1, Montana State trivia with you in the second hour. So get yourself ready for that. Quick break. Back after this, Tutel Nuanez, ESPN Radio, SWX, Montana Television.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Garden City Paint and Glass in Missoula is like your paint doctor. They take the pain out of painting. Don't trust your home to anything less than professional PPG paints from Garden City Paint and Glass. Go to visualizecolors.com. Scan in your room photo to see what color combinations will look best before painting. That's visualizecolors.com, featuring professional PPG paints. Garden City Paint and Glass in Missoula, across from the Southside McDonald's at 3217 Brooks.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
We ate a lot of steaks before we came up with the Montana Club's Private Reserve Cut Angus. It's as good a steak as you're going to get. Our Private Reserve Cut Angus is specially cut for us. And with our custom seasoning, it has a flavor that's absolutely incomparable. We're confident that it will satisfy the most discriminating steak customer for an unrivaled steak experience. Real Montana, real food. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump. Ooh, pump it up. Pump it up.
When you need a little extra brain power, head over to Town Pump. They've got what you need. 5-hour energy shots, 3 for $5. Plus, Old Trapper 10-ounce jerky, only $10.99. Get energized at your Town Pump right down the road.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Tutel and Nuanez. Listen to the podcast on the TuneIn Radio app or on iTunes. 1029ESPN.com.
They always say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication. People hating, say
who's going to back up Jacoby Brissett? A familiar name floated. And also trading the number 1 overall pick. Could be on the horizon. It's Tutel and Nuanez, 1029 ESPN Radio. We're broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. It's a good time to get into Kurtz. All the 2020 stuff is rolled out. Go check it out. Colter Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts as of about 4 days ago. Folks may have heard the news about Andrew Luck. Anyway, Brock Osweiler is making a visit to Indianapolis and going to check things out there. We will see if he ends up on the squad, or at least signing for now. Interesting in the NFL, Thursday, tomorrow, is all 32 teams in the league are going to be playing their final preseason game. Is this like the third year now where they are not staggering cuts? You know, they used to do the initial cut after the third game or even the second game. I can't remember exactly, where it would go from 90 or 92 guys down to 75. And then the final roster cuts were made, 24, 48 hours after the fourth game, but now they did away with that, and it's just like full rosters, one final cut. And, I mean, it's unbelievable, man, that I mean, count it up. I mean, 1,200 guys are going to be cut from NFL football teams day after tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, it's got to be a GM's nightmare, like the free-for-all of guys who are all of a sudden out there, because it's not just undrafted rookie out of nowheresville that you've never heard of. There's a lot of veteran guys who are, whether they're salary cap casualties, whether they just, their time is kind of run. There's a lot of names where all of a sudden you go, whoa, he got cut? What? He got cut? What? He retired? What's going on here? So it's a very interesting time of year in that respect. I wonder, I don't know. I wonder if Andrew Luck would have just waited a week for the day when everybody's leaving. It probably wouldn't have mattered much.
In terms of what?
I don't know. Just
softening the blow?
Announcing it.
No, that was going to be a shocker no matter what.
Yeah, you're right. So in any case, but 1,200 guys, man, on the same day, basically. See you later. And all the GMs got to go through all the lists, and all the agents are making every call, in the universe, sitting there trying to get their guys, another look onto a practice squad, whatever it might be. It's a pretty interesting time of year, to be sure. But in any case, Brock Osweiler shooting over there to Indianapolis. Was he on a team last season?
He was on a team early, but then he got cut.
Okay. Well, we'll see if Brock can stick around. You think he would have been? Well, no. Well, maybe. Do you think he would have been a better basketball player than a football player?
No. Brock Osweiler would never have signed a $72 million contract to play basketball under any circumstance ever.
I was going to say that, except for that if you were playing in the NBA, you're on a $72
I don't think Brock
million
Osweiler would have
contract.
made it to the NBA.
Yeah, you're right.
Brock Osweiler, I mean, just look at the time he played. He wasn't going to start at Gonzaga ever. He's not going to start over Kyle Wiltshire. He's not going to start over not Frank Kaminsky, who was the big guy, the big Polish guy that Gonzaga had, the 7-foot, 300-pounder. I mean, all the big guys that Gonzaga had, Brock Osweiler's not starting over those guys.
Well, maybe not.
Here's what I want to ask you.
It's harder to be a quarterback in the NFL than a big guy at Gonzaga.
This is what I want to ask you. Brock Osweiler's fall from grace has been profound. And it's been so I mean, dude, he signed a $72 million contract and was cut a year later.
It's not a fall from grace.
He's out the league. He's not 30.
Okay.
After he didn't.
I mean, fall from grace sounds like more like a character thing. You're just saying like
sure.
People's belief in the league about his ability to play ball.
At one moment was that he was a potential franchise quarterback and at the worst a top 20 guy in the league, and within a year he's out of the league.
It was a couple of years, several years.
He didn't even start a full season with the Texans before they kicked him to the curb.
Yeah, but then he went to the Browns.
They bought out his quarterback.
Then he was with Miami. So it's been 3 years since he signed that contract.
Right.
And he's still in the league-ish. Anyway, point being, he's bounced around a lot, and clearly everybody that's had him has been like, nah.
What I want to ask you, because I don't know, I get there's a lot of other stuff that goes with Brock Osweiler.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a really cocky, abrasive guy since he was a kid, since he was in middle school. I remember watching him in Spokane Hoop Fest when he was in 8th grade, and he was talking smack and rubbing people the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that his body of work is skewed by the really, really bad stretch he had with the Texans that was accentuated by all the issues that they were having. They had a bunch of injuries on the offensive line. Arian Foster was hurt. The whole team was falling apart. Bill O'Brien, didn't have it quite locked in. He himself is an abrasive coach. When Brock Osweiler wasn't doing what Bill O'Brien wanted, I think that affected Brock Osweiler's confidence. And so I don't want to analyze Brock Osweiler's personality. I want to analyze Brock Osweiler as a football player, because I think that Brock Osweiler as a football player was good in the NFL more than he was bad. It's just that his bad was accentuated so much by how much money he got paid for the coach that he did it under, who then just Bill O'Brien holds no punches. When you play bad for Bill O'Brien puts you straight on blast in the press conference every time. And it got to the point where Brock Osweiler, after 11, 12 starts was out. It was out. It was over. Bill O'Brien said, get rid of this guy, cut him. But you look at Brock Osweiler's good stretch with the Denver Broncos, which helped him earn that good contract when Peyton Manning was hurt. And you look at just his overall ability. I don't think Brock Osweiler is a Pro Bowl quarterback, an elite quarterback, but I also don't think Brock Osweiler is a bad enough quarterback to be out of the league. So my question for you is, who's better, Brock Osweiler or Beef Brisket?
Oh,
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett is a
better
quarterback.
Why? What's the justification? Brock Osweiler has had more good moments in the NFL than Jacoby Brissett has.
He's had more opportunity. I mean, he has had a lot more opportunity to play. Look, I mean, it's not signed, sealed, and delivered. Maybe part of this is a bit of an unknown when it comes to Jacoby Brissett. Here's the optimism, is that you don't know everything about Jacoby Brissett. So you think there's some potential. I think that we know what we know about Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler can throw a football. He's 6'7". What do we know about 6'7" quarterbacks? They're far less successful than 5'10" quarterbacks. So we can start there.
Isn't it so true, though?
It's not so. It's completely true.
Every guy
it's 1,000,000% true.
Every guy that's been 5'10" in the league.
5'10" to 6 foot, Hall of Fame.
Doug Flutie, Steve Young.
Hall of Fame.
On down the line. Drew Brees, Russell Wilson. Maybe Kyler Murray, we'll see. Baker Mayfield, certainly, though.
Everybody else. Glennon. Nick Foles.
Glennon.
Love you, man. Great line.
Look at the size of that neck.
It's just...
John Gruden is the greatest Hard Knocks character. God, if you're not watching Hard Knocks, you got to start watching Hard Knocks. He has more one-liners. You could quote Hard Knocks for the rest of time. Forever. Just John Gruden. Okay, back to this.
Point being, though, here's the thing. Brock Osweiler can't move very well. He is not very accurate. And it's a complete question mark to me. He looks like his head is spinning a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit still. Last time I saw him play, where he had not caught up to the game. Jacoby Brissett looks like a good young quarterback when I've seen him play, and admittedly it's been a very little bit that I've watched Jacoby Brissett play. But here, you are so right about the move to the Houston Texans. Everybody wants to crush Brock Osweiler over, flaming out or whatever. Bill O'Brien didn't want Brock Osweiler from day numero uno.
Yep.
Never, ever wanted him in there. It was a huge point of contention between him and the then GM. And by the way, again, I've said this before, but the GM fiasco for the Houston Texans over the last 12 months, 6 months, I mean, I can't believe that.
Do they even have a GM?
No, it's Bill O'Brien. Because they got hit for tampering, couldn't hire the guy they wanted, couldn't hire the next guy that they decided to fall back onto after firing the guy they had for 1 year, and now they interim tagged the GM to Bill O'Brien, who's already, I mean, to me, kind of shown what he is as a head coach anyways. But that all aside, here's what you don't want to do. You do not want to go to a place where there is a GM who likes you and a coach that does not like you the moment you step foot on the ground.
Yep.
Bad news. You are not going to be set up for success at that spot. The other thing that people forget is they say Brock Osweiler chased the money. First of all, fine. Lots of guys have and have been successful. Lots of guys have and have not been successful. That's not a knock on him. If you want to pay me $4 million, 72 or 4 years, $72 million, I'll pretty much go wherever. But people forget the Denver Broncos were ready to pay him $13 million a year. Yep. Not 17, but 13.
Yep.
And he would have been much better served to stay in Denver where he would have already had some success. From a play, hey, he may have played poorly and never gotten the money that he ended up getting. Okay, so it might work out in the end financially for Brock Osweiler. But, now let's be clear. John Elway, one of the handful of greatest quarterbacks to ever step foot on the game, has not been so good at assessing quarterbacks thus far in his presidency as the Denver Broncos, czar of football. But he picked Osweiler, liked Osweiler, and was prepared to pay Osweiler. And Osweiler had already had – I mean, Osweiler's best NFL moments were in Denver. And those – presumably could have continued at least somewhat. Over the long haul, are people going to figure you out and the truth about you as a player, is that ultimately going to come out? I suppose so. But he did not set himself up for success going to Houston. That much is for sure. That much is for sure.
Again, I know that Brock Osweiler's personality impacts the way people analyze him as a player. I'm just still not quite ready to say that Brock Osweiler's not better than Jacoby Brissett. And I don't think either one is very good.
I
think they're both okay. You look at Jacoby Brissett started 15 games 2 years ago when Andrew Luck was hurt. He threw for 3,098 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7 picks. The year that Brock Osweiler started the majority of the season for the Texans, he started 14 games, 2,957 yards, very similar yardage, 59% completion, which is 0.2% better than Jacoby Brissett. So they're both equally inaccurate by NFL standards. Brock Osweiler had 15 touchdowns, so 2 more touchdowns, but also 16 picks, so 9 more picks. But the number one stat I look at is sacks. Osweiler was playing against behind a decimated offensive line that year, and he can't move. You're right.
Yeah.
But you have to protect the guy. Yeah. And that's such a key to all quarterback play in the league because guess what? Even the guys that can move, they can't move like the guys that are playing defense.
Here's what I say. Like if you're going to ask me to pick one of these guys right now, I'm picking Jacoby Brissett 100% of the time. Okay? But if you were going to ask me, do I think it's crazy to imagine that Brock Osweiler is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts come week 10? Absolutely not. Certainly, Jacoby Brissett could play his way out. Brock Osweiler, I don't know that he could play his way in, but this is uncharted territory in a certain way where the franchise guy at the perceived peak of his powers says, I'm good, and now at 2 weeks before you start the season. I mean, that's pretty unprecedented to me from a quarterback standpoint. Other positions, it's happened. Quarterback, I can't think of one. So that is, that brings a lot of things into play. I mean, the fact that Brock Osweiler is on the ESPN, front news feed right now is a direct result of that. And does that, and all it takes is an opportunity, right? Guys need an opportunity. I will say this. If you're Jacoby Brissett or Brock Osweiler, I don't know if you could land in a better situation as far as they've actually do have a shored up offensive line. They actually do have a couple of useful pieces at the skill positions offensively, and most importantly of all, if you ever wanted a coach to figure it out in the situation like this with a quarterback, seems like Frank Reich might be your guy, right? I mean, I think the world of Frank as a head coach. And so, if there was a moment to try and break through, this is probably it.
It's just so ironic that, to me, the number one reason that Andrew Luck retired is from the injuries that he suffered when he was playing behind an awful Indianapolis Colts line. But it took those injuries for them to actually solidify their offensive line, and they've drafted more frontline linemen than anybody in the league to try to protect Luck, but it was too late.
Yep.
So now, actually, Jacoby Brissett has one of the most ideal situations for a young quarterback because they have 3 first-round draft pick offensive linemen.
That's what I'm saying. If you can't be successful as a quarterback in Indianapolis right now, you can't play in the league.
No doubt.
Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 right after this. Get into the LA Rams and Big Sky Conference football 24 hours away. Next.
Les Schwab is proud to introduce 2 of our best tires ever, just in time for summer. There's our exclusive Reputation, a high-mileage premium passenger tire we believe has the quietest, most comfortable ride ever. Or our exceptionally quiet and smooth all-season traction tire, the Open Range AT. Get up to $150 instant rebate on 4 backcountry MT or AT tires or $50 on 4 road control passenger tires. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing matters. Cannot be combined with other offers. Limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Alpine Touch has mastered keeping your taste buds happy by spicing up anything you throw on the grill this summer. Now, let Alpine Touch keep your mouth watering whenever you want their new sunflower shooters. Their new jumbo sunflower seeds seasoned with Alpine Touch's world-famous all-purpose seasonings. And Alpine Touch sunflower shooters will be available all summer at every Osprey baseball home game. Available at retail locations around the state and online at alpinetouch.com. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River.
The big skies are open. Go wild with Opportunity Reward Checking. Go ahead, jump, dance, shout. Opportunity Reward Checking will make you do that. Go wild when you get your 1% cash back on qualified debit card purchases. It all starts with an Opportunity Reward Checking account from Opportunity Bank. Visit a branch today to get started. Then go wild and spend your 1% cash back however you want. Go wild with Reward Checking from Opportunity Bank. Some restrictions may apply. Member FDIC.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here, and I'm with Josh of the Advocates Injury Attorneys. Josh, what are people left dealing with after an accident?
Well, quite a few things, actually. We see people that are in pain. They still need to get to work. They need to raise their kids, and now they have to take time to go see doctors and other healthcare providers. They're frustrated with working with the insurance companies and getting the runaround. We'll take on the burden of dealing with the insurance companies so you can get the best settlement possible and get back to your life.
Find your advocate online at MontanaAdvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers. You deserve an advocate.
Welcome to today's lottery drawing. And today's winning numbers are not yours, not yours, and another number that's not yours. And the final number is not yours.
When it comes to having money, don't rely on luck. Brew your own coffee at home instead of buying that latte. Brown bag it to work instead of ordering it. Go to feedthepig.org for more free ideas on how to save. Feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana. KKVU HD3 Stevensville and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. Back at their home field for the first time since August 3rd, the Missoula Osprey fell short against the first-place Billings Mustangs in a 3-1 loss Tuesday night. The win is Billings' fifth straight and gives the Mustangs a 6-game lead in the Pioneer League North second half race with 10 games remaining. The visitors scored runs in the 7th and 9th inning to move to 21-7 in the second half. The two teams played the second game of the 3-game series this evening from Hogan Park Allegiance Field. First pitch was at 7:05. It can be heard right here on 102.9 ESPN Missoula and SWX Montana Television. Missoula Sentinel Junior, Jaden Dennis followed up his opening round 70 at Larchmont with a final round of 72 at Canyon River to claim the Missoula County Public Schools Golf Invitational Tuesday. His effort pays Sentinel to a 3-shot win in the team competition. Dallas Bell Flathead Jr. Marcella Mercer earned the girls' medalist honors by following up her opening round of 80 with a round of 77. Macy Greenwood of Corvallis turned in the best round at Canyon River for the girls of 76, which led Corvallis to the girls' team title. And finally, Big Sky Conference football teams begin their season tomorrow with Northern Arizona hosting Missouri State for the first game of the Missouri Valley Big Sky Challenge. That game's at 7. Northern Colorado is also on the docket tomorrow at San Jose State. That game is at 8. The rest of the teams.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
Number 2. Tommy informs me we've been in hour number 2 for a little while because I can't stick to the clock. You know what? My bad. Great segment, though, that we just did. Great to be with you. Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at KurtzPolaris.com. If you missed anything in the first hour and change of the show, you can check it out on the podcast. The podcast available all the time. The podcast is available thanks to friends at the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. It is time for our Around the Big Sky segment because Big Sky football begins tomorrow, boys and girls. Tomorrow. 2 Big Sky teams in action. Our Around the Big Sky segment is brought to us by Skyline Sports MT. Skylinesports.com, rocking and rolling at Skyline Sports. Go check it out. A bunch of stuff going on, all the previews, all the teams, especially Montana State, of course. Coulter and Brooks doing great work there.
Well, thank you very much. We have a Big Sky breakdown this afternoon with a bunch of stuff from Brooks Nuanez, analyzing Montana State's matchup against Texas Tech, sharing some interviews from Media Day. Ryan Tutel and I will also be doing a Big Sky breakdown tomorrow afternoon, so we'll have that ready for you as well. And also a couple new and exciting things coming from Skyline Sports. We have a new contributing writer, Sam Lewis. He will be providing Pick the Lines for us. He'll be picking games against the spread, give you some tips on your gambling. Not that we're encouraging you to sports gamble, but if you do and you think it's fun, we got some guidance for you, certainly. And seeing all the spreads and all the things that are out there.
Yep.
And also the best writer at Skyline Sports is going to produce an article by the end of the week. You.
What's my deadline on this?
Well, presumably before the games start.
Yeah, I would think so.
Friday's usually good because then people can read it Friday and Saturday.
I got to get it done by Friday. It's going to be up Friday, one way or another. Man, I really wanted to float the river, but now I have two hurdles to cross. My job at Skyline Sports and my wife. It's going to be very difficult for me to get where I want to get. You know?
Yeah, you're amazing. You're the only person that's broadcasting on live radio about going and floating the river on a weekday.
No, after work. I mean, like right now. Right now. This is what I want to do, but I'm beholden. I should walk out of here. I walked in here at 3:59 and 30 seconds, and I might as well just leave now. Wait, is this right? Hold on. Okay, I'm being texted. I'm receiving a very concerning text here that says that Lubbock County, there in Lubbock, Texas, where Montana State's go. If you are a Bobcat fan, if you've gotten tickets, if you're headed down to I hope you got the refundable variety. I'm being told that Lubbock is a dry county. That can't be accurate.
It's not true.
It's in Texas, man.
Well, there is dry counties in Texas.
Are there?
There's actually a lot.
Come on now.
But I got it right here. Lubbock County is not permanently dry. However, within the city limits, Lubbock itself bans the sale of packaged liquor anywhere except at a quote-unquote winery. Liquor may be purchased in Lubbock by the drink, one shot at a time in bars and restaurants. So very much like Utah.
One shot at, so no shot skis in Lubbock.
Mm-mm.
What if there's 4 of you? Could you go? Here's what I want. Bobcat fans.
It was a dry county until 2009.
Okay. Nothing on Sundays. So the game's on Saturday, so you're okay there. Here's what I want, okay? Here's what I want. If somebody that's going down for this Montana State game would do me a personal favor, I would appreciate it. Get yourself, you're not going to the game by yourself. You're not going to Lubbock alone, for crying out loud. I want somebody to take a shot ski down there with 4 of you into an establishment in Lubbock and say, we're not buying 4 at a time. We're each buying 1. We've brought our own carrier. And stand there and see if that is within the city ordinance, the county ordinances, to accomplish this at, say, well, I mean, presumably it's going to be 7 a.m., right? Maybe 8. So let me know on that, would you? At Gus Tutel, I would like pictures. I would like video. I'd like to see how that goes. Look, the Big 12, they're hosting games all the time. They're coming from Texas. They're coming from College Station. They're coming from Oklahoma and Kansas to play at Texas Tech. So the visiting fan is not new, but I just think that there's a little bit of uniqueness to a visiting Montana fan.
I've told this story once before on the show, but I'll tell it again because it's a funny story.
Okay.
When Southern Utah joined the league in 2012, Montana State set up a little, as alumni associations do all over the place all the time, but they set up an alumni foundation sponsored trip where they take some boosters on the charter or whatever, but they flew in and out of Vegas on an Allegiant flight. Mm-hmm. And Cedar City, Utah is about 2-hour drive from Las Vegas.
And notably, in Utah.
Right. So
not in Nevada.
This was when I was still working.
Amazing that these two states border each other. My goodness gracious. It never really sorry to cut you, but it never really fully washed over me. Like, usually kind of regionally it kind of goes in, it kind of fades into the there's like these differences. I mean, this is
yin and yang.
I mean,
no
Utah
doubt.
and Nevada being next door neighbors is just something else. Okay, sorry, continue.
So I was working at the Bozeman Daily Chronicle at the time,
yes.
And Montana State reigning Big Sky champs. So the Chronicle said, "Hey, if you think it's a good decision for you and you could save us some money, you could just buy the package. You could just say, fly with them and stay where they're staying, and then take the bus." And then I was like, okay, that's actually great, because then after the game, I don't have to drive back to Vegas. I can just sit on the bus and write.
Do my work.
Well,
right.
Did I know the bus that I was getting on with all the people
was a booster.
Regardless.
Yes.
So on the way from Vegas to Cedar City, the bus stops at
the last outpost.
What I think might be the greatest place on planet Earth. It's a wholesale liquor store in Mesquite, Nevada, where you can get bottles of liquor for cheaper than I've ever seen it on planet Earth.
Okay.
So everybody's going in here. Everybody's loading up. We need drinks for before the game, during the game, after the game. Everybody, we got it all. Everybody's got all little mini bottles, and everybody's got purses full of stuff all over the place. Great. Pulling as we get closer and closer to Cedar City, the facilitator of this bus, she starts doing some research, must have been on her smartphone or whatever.
Yeah.
She says, oh man, we're going into a dry county. And Southern Utah has a dry campus. And so now we're thinking, well, we got like $10,000. Not me. I didn't have any liquor on me yet. But everybody's thinking, well, there's like $10,000 worth of liquor on this bus. Like, this is actually like, this is like bootlegging. Like we are committing a crime. Like, I mean, transferring liquor over a state line into a county that is a dry county. If by chance that bus was to get pulled over and searched, and that's like a federal offense because you're transferring it over state lines.
That's not for sale. Even though it looks like in quantities it is for sale, it's not for sale.
I think it was a tenuous situation, no doubt.
There is no chance that they did not know that before they were there.
Maybe they only just proclaimed it after.
That's why they stopped at Mesquite. Anyway, continue.
Right. It is why they. Well, regardless if they knew it was a dry county or not, they just knew that there was going to be better deals at
that's
the greatest place on earth. So they get there and everybody's like trying to re-strategize. First of all, they had a pregame party planned at this bar, but the bar only sold 3.2% alcohol Bud Light. That was it. It was the only thing that they sold. No liquor or anything. So everybody's like, well, can I sneak my own liquor into the bar? What do we do? So everybody is like acting like they're high school kids, like trying to figure out how you sneak the liquor around everywhere. How am I going to get it in the bar? How am I going to get it in the stadium? How are we going to all not get arrested for doing all of this illegal stuff?
Right.
And so there's like this big stressful moment. But then on the Montana State ended up winning that game 24-17. I remember it very vividly. Brad Sorensen was the quarterback for Southern Utah. He's a great player. He's ended up being a 6th-round draft pick by the San Diego Chargers. And Brad Daly came up big, as he almost always did. He had 3 sacks in the fourth quarter. And Brian Flatketter, a Laurel native, he caught the game-winning touchdown. And then on the ride back, I'm trying to write my story, and I somehow coincidentally got sat right next to Brian Flacketter's father. And he is just on the moon. He couldn't be more happy. His son caught the game-winning touchdown. We're going back to Vegas. We're celebrating. And these guys are just bugging me. We got to get rid of liquor. What if we get stopped at the state line? You got to drink something. I'm like, dude, I've got to work. When we get back or when I'm done, my file story will be all good. But it was just it was a hilarious situation of transporting liquor illegally across state lines. It had nothing to do with me, but I had a front row seat to the entire thing.
An enjoyable experience, no doubt. And I would like to think that the statute of limitations has more than covered your story at this point.
I hope the statute of limitations is expired on the speeding ticket I got for going 111 miles per hour in South Dakota. It's one of the main reasons why I decided to not go to the South Dakota game with Montana, because I don't know. Driving back from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Where's Coulter? Jail. Because 2001.
2008. Well, if I was driving in 2001, that would have been, I would have really been up a creek. No, 2008, I drove to and from Chattanooga, Tennessee for the Montana National Championship game against Richmond.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I was driving the Cadillac that me and a bunch of my buddies were driving. And I get pulled over. I had it straight up, had the car on cruise control at 100. So now I was passing people, I was going 110. I get pulled over. The cop comes up. He says, "Get out of the car. Get in my car." And I was like, "Oh, man." He said, "Do you have any idea how long I've been following you?" I said, I have no clue, sir. I pulled over as soon as I saw your lights." And he said, "I have been following you for 45 minutes. He said, "I passed you on a part of the freeway where there's a median, and I had to drive 3 miles before I could turn around and catch you." And he said, "You must have just had it on cruise, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What'd you have it on cruise at, 100? I said, "Indeed, sir, I did. I'm super sorry." And he's like, "I should give you a reckless driving ticket, blah, blah, blah." So I ended up getting a ticket. I never paid it. I shouldn't say that on the radio, but I never paid it, and I have no idea. I have no idea my status in South Dakota. It was a terrifying moment, though.
I mean, if we're going to tell some stories on ourselves, should I do one? You want me to do one?
Let's go. This is a great Skyline Sports Around the Big Sky. All the things that I've almost got in trouble for during my career.
I was also pulled over for speeding in South Dakota in a minivan with a trailer with my family in it. And I was not doing 111. You should know.
They can't do 111.
Don't even start with me, okay? It's a beautiful vehicle. But I was doing 95. And the trailer, I should be clear, the trailer is it's a glorified like roof rack. I mean, it's not like a trailer like anything that you have in mind. You can't even see it actually in the rear view behind the van. It is a very, very small little two-wheel outfit. But nonetheless, it's 80 in Montana, man, on the interstates, which means, it's like 85, right? So you go on 85, and you know what there is in Montana? Turns on the roads. You know what there ain't any of in South Dakota?
Turns.
I mean, it is just...
There's a billboard every 3 miles for wall drug, though.
Put the lock on the steering wheel and take a nap. Just going. So I was going faster than I should have been going, admittedly. But the problem is that the speed limit also dropped to like 65 because we're not on the interstate anyways. We were on a highway. So I was going significantly over. I got pulled over. I also was asked back to the passenger seat of the officer's car. And we had a little discussion about safety on the roads and so forth. Acceptable. I did pay the ticket, by the way. But as we're sitting back there and having, this conversation and so on. And it's taken a little bit. They go through all the stuff and they're processing the paperwork and so on. Now I got 3 small kids in the car, right? You're just kind of stuck on the side of the highway here. All of a sudden my wife gets out of the van. Pulls out one of the kids, and directly in front of the police officer's vehicle, we had to have a pee break. And I thought, I'm getting another citation for this. Like, this is definitely illegal. This thing. And the officer, who was a very, very nice guy, observed what had happened there with that. I think registered it as just a matter of necessity, given the situation. Didn't say one word about it to me. I certainly wasn't going to be the one to broach the subject, but I found it remarkable that my wife couldn't even go around to the front of the van to hide, what it is that's going on, decided right here in full view of myself and the law and everyone that this is where the 3-year-old is going to do her business.
It's classic.
Coulter, we got 2 more minutes in this segment. What would you like to talk about the Big Sky Conference?
Well, per the betting lines column that Sam Lewis will be producing for us, we're printing it today. It'll be out here momentarily.
Fantastic.
But the 2 games we're printing on Wednesday because the 2 games that are up are tomorrow. So Missouri State is at Northern Arizona, and Northern Colorado is at San Jose State. And I just think that the NAU opener is very intriguing to me, only because I think that NAU is one of the only. So I think that the Big Sky is like this. I think that there is 5 teams that are going to be very competitive on the national level, and if one of those 5 is not, that will be disappointing. I think that there's 6 teams in the league that will be very not good, just straight up, period. There's no scenario you can tell me that Idaho or Idaho State are going to be good this year. Southern Utah, there is nothing that could fall their way. The two teams in the league that have brand new head coaches are the 2 teams that maybe could be different than maybe we expect them to be. If Troy Taylor really has an offensive influx at Sacramento State, maybe they'll be good. But I think the fact that he negotiated himself an unprecedented 10-year contract shows me that he is fully ready to rebuild, tear the thing down, to build it up.
Yeah.
But he does have some guys coming back. I mean, Sac State went 0-7 in league play last year. They had one of their games canceled. That's why they didn't play the 8 league games. But early, they were a good team. They just got decimated by injuries. When you lose your quarterback, you lose your running back, you lose your receiver, you lose all your best defensive players. It's hard to be good. So who knows with Sac State? But I think that even if they do sort of surprise and win a couple of league games, I still don't think they're going to be great. Northern Arizona, though, when you got a quarterback, you got a chance. And when Case Cookus is at his best and he's upright, he might be the best quarterback in the league.
Yep.
And I think that it's his return begins tomorrow night. And he's had a crazy career because he was the National Freshman of the Year. And then he's had injury-riddled seasons with either him or his primary weapons or both being hurt. And it basically resulted in Jerome Sowers getting forced out at NAU. But now we have a new head coach at NAU for the first time since 1997. That in itself is a unique situation in college football. What does Chris Ball do with Northern Arizona? How does he change the culture? And what can Case Cookus do? Because Case Cookus, at his best, is good enough to help NAU at least be in the mix. And Missouri State is an interesting team because the Missouri Valley Conference is stacked. They have all sorts of really quality teams. Missouri State's the only randomly really bad team. They're awful. NAU beat Missouri State 41-8 last year without Cookus. But it's kind of a launching point for Cookus's, as you said, 59th year in college football.
Right. Totally. And this is, as it turns, I mean, it's a game that NAU should win. When you talk about a new head coach and all that, and a first game, it's sort of it'll be interesting to see kind of how it ultimately plays out. But it's certainly a game that the Big Sky Conference has to win. It's actually oddly a bigger game for the Big Sky than it is for the team playing in it in a lot of ways in NAU. I mean, the Big Sky has to have a win because there's going to be some losses in this challenge over the course of the year. And so you got to get them where you can get them. And this is one, not that you could get, but that you should get and really need to get to, in terms of fleshing out the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely have to get it. Montana, South Dakota is in a similar situation. When Montana State plays at Western Illinois, it's a similar situation because the other games, I don't think Southern Utah is going to go to South Dakota State or North Dakota State and win. I just don't think that's going to happen. I actually think it's impossible that would happen. I don't think Idaho State is going to beat South Dakota State. I mean, Northern Iowa plays Southern Utah and another Big Sky team that's slipping my mind. But what I saw as far as this Missouri Valley Big Sky Challenge is that the Big Sky, I think there's only 3, maybe 4 games that the Big Sky have a chance to win in this thing, and this is one of them. So I think NAU's got to take care of business.
Okay, very good. And also Northern Colorado plays SDSU.
San Jose State, not SDSU.
Sorry.
SJSU.
Unimportant.
Here. Let's just give me 2 seconds on this game though, because I do think that just listen though. Just listen to me just for a second though. I do think that I picked Northern Colorado when I put pencil to paper to go 0-8 in the Big Sky Conference.
Okay.
Ironically,
this is a winnable game.
Their opener against San Jose State. I mean, the spread is 10.5. That's it. San Jose State is awful. They might be marching towards no football at San Jose State.
Yes, they might be.
And I honestly think, they went 1-11 last year. Like, again, I think that Northern Colorado, I don't know if they'll win, but if I was a betting man, I'd pick Northern Colorado plus 10.5.
Okay.
They could be within a touchdown in this game. Or not.
Let's go, Bears. Let's go, Bears. Go get one. Sutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Can we give something away here, Colter?
Yes, we need to. Let's do it.
Boys and girls, You know what I love? Very many things. I am a lover. I try and look for the good in all of it. But some things you don't have to look for the good in it because it shows you the good in itself. Such is the case with Alpine Touch, the greatest seasoning on earth. And it's grill season still. And it's tailgate season now. Thank heaven. So go ahead and give us a call, 329-1899. We got the 4 Big Mountain Flavors hand-carrying case and the very nice, thank you very much, Alpine Touch hat right here. The all-purpose original, the pepper blend, the hickory smoke, and the chili sublime seasonings for you, 329-1899. We're going to send these out to you, right, Coulter?
Once upon a time, they started producing this stuff in Whitefish, Montana at a meat shop, and it was called Touch of Magic. And that Touch of Magic is a very similar recipe to what now still is the all-purpose seasoning. And we're going on 60 years now of them spicing up meats in Montana. That all-purpose, it is as good as it gets. And it's football season. That thing's perfect for tailgate. You can carry it right around up to your tailgate, put the spices right on top.
A very
and
useful
remember,
handle.
If you don't call in and win this thing, you still can go buy yourself some Alpine Touch. You can order it online, alpinetouch.com. Use the code ESPN10. Just type in ESPN10, write that promo code box, and you get 10% off all your Alpine Touch orders. So give us a call right now, 329-1899. We got Alpine Touch for you. We got a hat for you.
There you go.
We got it all. And remember, this is what you need to make your tailgating season with college football coming up as good as it gets. Alpine Touch doing it right, as good as it gets in Montana, more than 60 years. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
One other thing, Coulter, before we get out here, we want to remind everybody tomorrow, very excited, we're going to be at Stockman's Bar.
Stockman's Bar
is the most recent, or the next stop, I guess I should say, on the Tutel and Nuanez Summer Tour. We are going to be down there live. We are going to be giving away tickets to the Grizzly-Oregon football game, another pair of tickets to be given away down there. So come on down and join us. We'll be there at 4 o'clock doing the show, 4 to 6. So come on down, have yourself a Widmer Hefeweizen down there. They got cans of it for you, and you can come hang out with us and perhaps win a pair of tickets to the doggone Ducks Grizzly football game September 14th. So it's going to be a great time over there. So come on down and hang out with us tomorrow. Okay? We got it? Boys and girls, let's do a Wing It Wednesday. 329-1899. I got some questions for you about Week 1 football in the state of Montana, the Grizzlies and the Cats specifically. Give us a call, 329-1899. You want to win a set of wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern like Dave did in the first hour. 329-1899, the best wings in the city of Missoula, coming to you via trivia questions next. Mark your calendar for the 4th annual Selway Armory tent sale. The lowest prices of the year on guns, ammunition, and accessories, and massive amounts of ammo to stock up for the entire year. September 13th and 14th in the Lolo Shopping Center parking lot on Highway 93. Tons of ammo, guns, and other items at below-cost blowout prices. September 13th and 14th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday and 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday. The 4th annual Selway Armory tent sale at the Lolo Shopping Center, Highway 93.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today. 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
With busy days running us down, swing by a Florence Coffee for a boost of antioxidants and grab a soothing cup of tea. We carry a wide variety of Montana tea and spice flavors like Montana Gold, Mountain Huckleberry, Lemon Mint, just to name a few. So stop by any Floco location for some delicious tea, hot or iced, and visit us at florencecoffeeco.com.
The best flavor under the big sky, Florence Coffee Company.
Hey folks, Ryan Tutel here with Josh from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident and need help dealing with the insurance company, you should give The Advocates a call.
It doesn't cost anything at all to call, and I'd be happy to talk with you about your situation. You don't want to have to be dealing with contacting the insurance companies and setting up your claim. We can do that for you from start to finish. We'll take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give Josh a call, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers, but you deserve an advocate.
Big Sky Breakdown at SkylineSportsMT.com continues to give you the inside look from around the Big Sky Conference and the state of Montana. The most in-depth podcast in the Treasure State gives you multiple episodes each week year-round with commentary, analysis, interviews, and entertainment from around one of the most storied conferences in the West.
Whether it's full uncut interviews with Montana State head football coach Jeff Choate or Travis DeCure's thoughts on his outstanding Montana men's basketball team, everything you need to hear is available on the Big Sky Breakdown. Take a look inside the best stories in the conference and the most detailed analysis in the state. The Big Sky Breakdown, it has you covered.
Whether it's X's and O's acumen of Brooks Nuanez or the comedic banter of Ryan Tutel or the dry humor of Andrew Houghton.
And don't forget the best connections to everybody that matters in the sports world across the Big Sky Conference from Colton Nuanez. And by the way, thank you for calling me funny.
You're welcome. The Big Sky Breakdown will present you with all of it and more at SkylineSportsMT.com.
The Big Sky Breakdown, proudly presented by Town Pump Food Stores and Selway Armory.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Hey, good afternoon. Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. Back at their home field for the first time since August the 3rd, the Missoula Osprey fell short against the first-place Billings Mustangs in a 3-1 loss last night. The win is Billings' fifth straight and gives the Mustangs a 6-game lead in the Pioneer League North second-half race with 10 games remaining to play. The visitors scored runs in the 7th and 9th inning to move to 21-7 on the second half of the year. The teams play their second game of the 3-game stand tonight from Logan Park Allegiance Field at 7:05. It can be heard here on ESPN Radio and seen on SWX Montana Television.
Missoula Sentinel junior Jaden Dennis followed up his opening round 70 at Larchmont with a final round of 72 at Canyon River to claim the Missoula County Public Schools golf invite on Tuesday. His effort paced Sentinel to a 3-shot win in the team competition on the boys' side. Kalispell Flathead junior Marcella Mercer earned girls medalist honors by following up her opening round of 80 with a round of 77. Macy Greenwood of Corvallis turned in the best round Tuesday at Canyon River. She shot a 76 to lead Corvallis to the girls' team title.
Big Sky Conference football begins their regular season tomorrow. That's right, 2 teams from Big Sky in action. Northern Arizona is hosting Missouri State in the first game of the Missouri Valley Big Sky Challenge, and Northern Colorado is on the road at FBS San Jose State.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
Who's ready for a Wing It Wednesday? I think Andy might be. It is Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83, and see it online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you want to call, 329-1899 is the phone number. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. And if you want to listen live, no matter where you are, check out the stream on our station website at 1029ESPN.com. That stream available thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Let's go to the phones. Let's do it right now. We welcome Andy to the show. Andy, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing good, Andy. Are you flying in an airplane?
I am not. I'm running a front-end loader.
Oh, okay. Well, that's, just about the same speed, if I understand it correctly. Very good. Andy, here's the deal. We're going to try and get you some wings to the Desperado today. Does that sound all right to you?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, we got 3 questions. If you get 2 of them right, you got yourself a basket of wings to the Desperado. If you get all 3, you got a shirt. If you need help, Coulter is your lifeline, all right?
All right.
Boy, some chicken wings would really hit the spot. Tummy likey. Tummy want wingy.
All right, Andy, on his front-end loader, here we go. Question number 1. The Montana Grizzlies play South Dakota on Saturday in the first game of the season for both teams. In their history, Montana and South Dakota have played 18 times against one another. How many of those 18 has the University of Montana won? And it's a multiple-choice question. 9, 10, 12, or 14 all-time wins for the Grizzlies against South Dakota?
And if I tell you last one, make sure you Looks down. 14. Clear that Grizzly off.
It goes 14, and we got an intercom answering. Man, you are really loving it. You want these wings badly, I could tell. I mean, you are putting everything else out there for these. 14 is the answer. No, it is not. It is not 14. We're going to hold. We're going to put a placeholder in there. Let's go to the next question. Question number 2. Who has been the head football coach at both the University of Montana and South Dakota University? Who's been the head coach there, both schools?
Oh, I know this one. He was before Blue grad. God, I can't remember his name. I'll use my lifeline.
Good choice.
Good
Coulter,
choice.
who you got?
Powder River Letter Buck, Joe Glenn.
Joe Glenn is correct. Joe Glenn, just the nicest guy. I mean, I love Joe Glenn, man. Who doesn't? Playing the piano, singing the music. Yeah, awesome. Joe Glenn, correct. Coached at the Yotes and the Grizz, both places. So, there you go. Question number 2 in the books. Here you go. Question number 3. Montana State is playing Texas Tech this weekend. Okay? How far is it, and this is another multiple choice question, in the shortest driving distance from Bozeman to Lubbock, Texas, to the nearest 100 miles? Is it 1,000 miles, 1,100 miles, 1,200 miles, or 1,300 miles?
Oh, man. I'll guess. I'll go high with 1,300 miles.
You are so close. Go the next highest one. Andy?
1,400 miles.
No, the next highest one that I offered you, below 1,300.
Oh, below 1,300. Let's go with 1,200.
Bang! My man got it. 2 out of 3. Andy, you got yourself wings to the Desperado. You give your information to Reese, and you go back to work, okay?
I'm doing it.
All right, great work, Andy. Thank you very much. Andy on the excavator. You got it, bud. Out there plowing ground. Shout out to all the guys. Hey, this is not the day to be doing construction. It's 90 degrees out there. It's hot. Everybody out there on the sites today, the work sites, the construction that's out there listening, shout out to you, okay? You are doing a job that is very close to as hard as the job that Coulter and I are doing at the moment. How about that? On the thing, you got the intercom in there. You got the stuff whizzing by and everything like that. 1,200 miles. The closest 12 is the name of the day because a 12 is also the number of wins that Montana has in their series against South Dakota. 12-6, the all-time series.
When's that date back to? Do you know?
I don't know when it dates back to. The most recent game was in 2014, though, when Joe Glenn was the coach of South Dakota, came back to Missoula. Jordan Canada, I think, had a great game in that game.
Tyler Starr was the star of the South Dakota Yotes. Went on to play in the NFL.
And Montana won that game, I think, by a score. I have to look back again. But in any case, 12-6 is the all-time series for the Grizzlies and the South Dakota Yotes, Coyotes, and I don't know that there is an all-time series between Montana State and Texas Tech, which is why we didn't do the history of that esteemed rivalry.
Cats played Texas A&M, Rob Ash's first season back in 2007. I am not exactly sure, though. I do not believe they have ever played. Stat check. I'll get back to you in about 2 minutes.
Okay. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We'll do a quick break. We'll wrap up the show on a Wednesday, and I will go home and face the music.
Canyon River Golf Club is a must for any golfer in western Montana. Tucked away in a spectacular setting along the Clark Fork River in East Missoula, Canyon River offers one of Montana's best championship golf experiences. And Canyon River is happy to announce their new fleet of golf carts, which include the Shark Experience, an interactive GPS giving dynamic distances and touchscreen interaction to help you play your best. Plus, with Bluetooth, radio, and surround sound, you can enjoy yourself between holes, too. Book online at CanyonRiverGolfClub.com. Missoula's best golf, Canyon River. Hey, everybody. Here with my good friend Josh from the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, if I've been in an accident, how much is it going to cost me to hire you?
Well, we take cases on a contingency fee. And what that means for you is that if you're hurt in an accident, we only get paid if you make a recovery. You'll never owe us anything out of pocket.
What about the call for a consultation?
That's not a problem. We don't charge anything for an initial consultation, so you have absolutely nothing to risk by calling us.
If you're injured in a car accident, call the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
Now, the Montana Club's happy hour features BOGO beverages. Our expertly mixed cocktails, microbrews, domestics, and wine are buy one, get one free 7 days a week from 3 to 5:30. Stop in on Friday for Montini night. Sip on a top shelf martini for only $6, 5:30 to close. When you've worked hard all day and are ready to relax, the Montana Club has got you covered with BOGO happy hour 7 days a week, 3 to 5:30 on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
The Polaris factory authorized clearance is here. The world's best-selling off-road lineup is priced to move with financing as low as 3.99% and rebates up to $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. The best deals of the year are happening now. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $3,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris factory authorized clearance. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Kurtz Polaris is now showcasing all of the new 2020 Polaris off-road vehicles. To be the first to get a great deal on brand new state-of-the-art Polaris vehicles at Kurtz Polaris. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. Rebates valid in U.S. through 9/30/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Financing offer valid on 2015s through 2020s. Subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
Hey, Tutel Nuanez here. Can't tell you how many times we've heard the face for radio joke since we came on SWX television, but it's been a fun endeavor so far.
And now our esteemed producer Tommy is pushing the envelope even further. We got our own YouTube channel.
That's right. If you want to watch us every day from your computer, your tablet, your cell phone, you can check out Tutel Nuanez on YouTube.
Tutel Nuanez live every weekday from 4 to 6 in the afternoons on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula, SWX Montana statewide, and now around the planet Earth on YouTube.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Now they always say congratulations. Work so hard, forgot how to vacation. They ain't never had the dedication. People hating, say we changing, look, we made it. Yeah, we made it. They was never friendly. Yeah. No, I'm jumping out of Bentley.
Time to continue our NFL preview by team. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. The Rams, who we're looking at today. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you missed anything in the show, you can listen on the podcast. The podcast available on the TuneIn Radio app and on iTunes. It's also available on the station website, 1029ESPN.com. And it is there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Tonight, Coulter and I going to be on SWX tonight. So go give that a look, 10:30. Check your local listings. SWX tonight. Montana's only statewide sports show. Pretty cool.
TV, that is.
Yeah, TV. Right. Good
point. We're a statewide sports show.
We are, and a TV show at that. So they're not the only statewide TV sports show. We are also. We forgot ourselves on the list of one. I mean, that's pretty good. That's like holding your wallet in your hand while you're looking for your wallet. You know? We've all been there, haven't we? Think so. Should we talk about the LA Rams for a moment?
Sure.
Did I tell you that on my, the craziness of my flight back from Wisconsin and the wreck, and I missed the flight, and then I got rerouted through Los Angeles. I flew, spitting distance from the brand new stadium in Los Angeles that's being constructed.
Mm-hmm.
The skeleton of that thing, even from the air, yeah, it's a real thing. It's gigantic, and it is not a stadium. it is it's a town. It's a town that they are building that will have a giant stadium in it. But they're doing the whole thing, you know? And it is, I don't know all what's going to be there, what kind of businesses, what kind of places to live. I mean, I think they're putting in suites. I think they're putting in office buildings. I think they're doing all of it. And, I'm sure it will be very nice when it's all said and done.
I just want to know if people are going to show up. I think if the Rams keep up at this pace, they will. The like Vegas light attitude of Los Angeles, where if you're not part of the show, you're just irrelevant, is so interesting to me.
Yeah.
20 million people, and then there's 10,000 people at Charger games. It seems just ridiculous, right?
I mean, nobody goes to USC games. Even less people go to UCLA games.
Right.
But that's not the issue. I mean, the point is just having, a team in the market that's on television, right? Sell some jerseys. I mean, here's the thing is like people talk about, what is it, 15 million people in the Los Angeles basin or whatever it is.
Maybe even 20.
I don't know. But the point is that I have no idea the layout of Los Angeles specifically in terms of where the stadium. I know where the stadium is in geographically, but I have no idea people-wise what that means. And here is the issue: getting there. I mean,
right.
it might be easier for a lot of people listening to us right now to drive to a Seattle Seahawks football game than for some people in Los Angeles to go watch the Rams by the same means.
Probably true.
I mean, it's insane. So, having a team and people go, well, 20 million people, how can you not get to the game? Well, to an extent that's true, but it's not quite the same thing. It does matter where you are. And, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the L.A. Rams were in Orange County, that they might be far better attended than they are actually in Los Angeles near LAX. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But the fact is that you're right, is that people could – football. Look, there's a reason that there was not professional football in Los Angeles for 20 years. I mean, think about this, okay? The Raiders left L.A. to go to Oakland. I mean, what do you need to know? About the fan base in Los Angeles. That said, it's probably going to be very successful. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to go initially for no other reason than to go to this building and be there. Hang out, around, whatever. And I think it's probably smart because you probably have to have something that's more than merely football to get people to show up in Los Angeles. That's probably the reality of it.
So, after Blake Bortles beats out Jared Goff, will the LA Rams return to the Super Bowl?
Definitely. Bortles is like borderline Hall of Fame.
But honestly, I think that the Rams have a lot of question marks coming into this year because they drafted Greg Gaines and got rid of Ndamukong Suh. They have Todd Gurley with uncertain health. They have Cooper Kupp, who by all accounts seems to be recovered from his ACL injury, but he's still coming off an ACL injury. And then you have the dreaded but almost certain Super Bowl hangover.
Mm-hmm.
The team that loses. The thing is, though, I think the Super Bowl hangover is more real for the team that wins the Super Bowl than it is the team that loses, except for when it's the New England Patriots, because there's no such thing as
I don't
carryover.
believe in Super Bowl hangovers.
How?
I believe that it's really, really hard to get to a Super Bowl, and you're not going to do it every year, and it doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah, but how often have we seen the team that lose the Super Bowl go back to the Super Bowl the next year?
Almost never.
It's happened several times recently.
I mean, the
Broncos,
Seahawks did it. Did the Broncos go the next season?
I think so.
No, I don't think so. I think it was like 3 years later for the Broncos because they had to rebuild their defense and all of that kind of stuff after they lost to Seattle. But, like, teams that are good are going to be good. I think the Rams are going to be very good. But I don't know that if they don't make it to the Super Bowl again this season, I'm not sitting there going, well, obviously.
Are they the favorites in the NFC?
Well, let's start here. They're the favorites in the NFC West.
Sure.
And
I think that they're probably I don't think they're overwhelming, because I think the NFC has a lot of pretty good teams. But I do think they're the favorites.
I mean, they got Eric Weddle from Baltimore, veteran, but
they got Clay Matthews.
Aqib Talib, Clay Matthews. They still obviously have the best defensive player in football, and Aaron Donald holding it down on the inside. They don't really have much at the tight end spot to speak of, but they are going to be very good again, and they're still on a rookie contract with their quarterback, which we know means they can move it around a little bit and have done so. They lose Ndamukong Suh, but honestly, like, lots of teams have lost Ndamukong Suh, and it's hard to tell if it's for better or worse. You know? I mean, I don't know. He's just less. He's great, but he's still less impactful than you feel like he should be. And they have Aaron Donald.
Well, right, but Aaron Donald's not going to have 20 sacks again without Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, maybe. Here's the other teams I think in the NFC that are going to have something to say about the Super Bowl. Yep. The Saints.
Yep.
Potentially the Bears. Telling you, in terms of getting there.
Maybe.
They're one of the 5 best teams in the NFC, period. I will never believe in the Atlanta Falcons.
No.
Probably not Carolina.
Nope.
You could convince me of something about Minnesota. You could convince me of something about Green Bay, and you could talk to me for sure about the Philadelphia Eagles. But the NFC is pretty top-heavy, and it's pretty thin upper crust. So I think the Los Angeles Rams should have a very strong season and will be they have to be a playoff team, barring you could tell me that Jared Goff is out for the year and they should still be a playoff team.
Jared Goff's the least of their concern when it comes to their skill guys. It's everybody else.
Yeah.
If Todd Gurley is out for any stretch of time, though, that kills him.
Well, does it?
Absolutely. I read this fascinating statistical analysis about the things that make the Rams offense go. They ran play action on, I think, 58% of their passes last year. And the one unique analytic in that analysis that I'd never heard before, they had average blast off the ball. Yeah. How much does your offensive line move the line of scrimmage?
Right.
And they led the league in that stat. Talk about a strenuous and tedious task to be the guy who compiles that stat.
No kidding.
but regardless, when your offensive line is that was the most underrated part of their team last year, right? I mean, I thought they'd take a huge jump, not only because of Todd Gurley's reemergence, not only because of the surprise breakout that was Cooper Kupp, not only because of Jared Goff's maturation, but more than any other reason, they signed a potential Hall of Fame guy in Andrew Whitworth as their left tackle, and then they fortified the rest of the offensive line with really good players, and they have one of the best offensive lines in football.
Here we go. Quickly, wins and losses. At Carolina.
Loss.
Wow.
I'm high on the Panthers.
Versus New Orleans. Rematch of the NFC championship game. No chance.
I'm saying they're 1-1 after that stretch.
All right. At Cleveland.
Win.
Versus Tampa.
Win.
At Seattle.
Loss.
Versus San Francisco.
Win.
Okay, we're going to stop here. They're 6-2 after 4-2 after 6 weeks. We will finish this tomorrow. Okay, not going to push it any further. We'll finish this tomorrow. Look at Tommy. Look at me. Paying attention to the clock. How good is that, boys and girls? Tomorrow we're going to finish this at Stocks. Come down to Stockman's Bar downtown. Hang out with Coulter and I. Have a drink. Put your name in the box to go to the Grizzly Oregon Duck football game. And spend a nice afternoon in downtown Missoula with the two of us. We're going to have a great time. It's college football openers. Go watch some games, for crying out loud, that are going to be going on. I can't wait. I cannot wait. We'll see you tomorrow down there from Stockman's Bar. Until then, boys and girls, have an enjoyable night. Enjoy the Osprey game. And we will catch you in 22 hours.